Great. So moving on, Ambika, you've gathered, you know, quite a bit of following on LinkedIn for your fintech related posts, right? So just wanted to understand what pushed you to start writing in public and why fintech especially.
Right. So, honestly, I actually started writing as a way to just get my thoughts in order. So, especially when I moved to Razorpay, right? Razorpay being a full stack fintech was doing so many different things, and especially as a part of the strat team, genuinely you're involved in like 4 to 5 different projects across different, themes. So it was at least a lot of information coming at me, especially at the start, and I actually just started making notes on like a Google Doc just as a way to keep track and make sure I'm understanding what I'm doing, right? And making sure that the fundamentals are there at the end of the day. And at some point, this writing started evolving into like a fully blown sort of opinion piece, right? And that's something at least a lot of us try to do, especially in the strat world, where we say, okay, where is this evolving? Somebody's done this. What does this mean? So that's how the writing started evolving. And it was mainly a way to just for me to learn about something and go really deeply into it. And at some point when I started writing these really long form articles, I was like, hey, might as well just put it out there and see what happens. And to be honest, was pretty nervous at least about putting myself out there. I did not expect it to at least get the following it did. I guess there is, I think, a lack of people writing, maybe some of these more complicated concepts in a simple way or trying to explain it, in a very detailed sort of fashion. And yeah, that's how it started. And when I at least started getting some traction, I was like, okay, it seems that there are a lot of people out there like me who want to learn more about this, and at least it's resonating with them. So then used it as a way to, deep dive on things that I want to know more about. And at least because fintech's an area that really interests me, kept that as a core theme. Started adding some other things around sports once in a while about AI and things like that. But even AI actually started because I was just like, hey, I need to know more about it. And the only way I can really hold myself accountable and say, hey, let's really deep dive and understand, if I say, hey, let me put something out there. Because if I'm putting myself out there, then my research has to be good. I have to communicate it and understand it in a way that if people come back with questions, I'm at least able to have an opinion on it. So yeah, that's really how it started. And I don't know how so many people at least have started following and enjoying the content I put out.
Yeah, and why fintech especially though? Is that because that was your line of work, or is there any other reason apart from that?
So started off as a line of work. And then somewhere I think I genuinely actually fell in love with fintech and really enjoy, learning more about at least not just how payments work, but how everything else in fintech is evolving. It is something that I enjoy reading about even when I'm not working. Yeah, that's really it.
Great. So we will get to the inside part as to how you pick the topic, so on and so forth, right? But first, what were the outcomes like? What were some of the best compliments that you received? Can you maybe throw some light on that?
Yeah. So I think one major outcome is one, I've become a lot more confident about how I'm maybe seeing things or how I'm building an opinion, right? A lot of the stuff that I try to write about is sort of, hey, this has happened. So this is what I see happening, right? And a lot of these things, at the end of the day, I try to keep my research and my articles very data driven. I like to keep data and trends at the center of it and then draw maybe some sort of conclusions from there. What has been really good is I think a lot of people have enjoyed the fact that one, it's very data driven, right? I think a lot of the pieces right now on LinkedIn are you give a summary about something and that's it. Nobody's really said, hey, this is the data and this is what it's telling me. And that's why I think, this will happen or I've drawn this conclusion. I think that at least about fintech specifically is missing. So, just people reaching out and saying, hey, I love the way you at least weave data into a narrative, and give like a conclusion is really helpful. The second thing I've really, I think, been quite proud of at least this compliment is that a lot of people have given me the feedback that, I write with an opinion. I think a lot of folks, at least even when they write, are maybe afraid of putting themselves out there and saying, hey, this is my opinion and I think this will happen. Right? It's not easy. It can be a little nerve wracking because when you come out with an opinion, you're also setting yourself up in a way that people can come in and say you're wrong. And that's also happened. But more often than not, at least, I want when people read my stuff, I want them to at least take away a hypothesis or take away, a point of view from it, not just read a summary and say, this is what's happening in the world. And I've actually got a lot of feedback saying that, we like that you write with an opinion. We like that once I read your piece or article on LinkedIn or even on Substack, we take away the fact that this is what you think will happen. So that's been really good. I think I really enjoy hearing that. And at least on Substack, some of my articles are a little dense. They can take maybe 10-15 minutes to go through, and you probably have to reread them to actually understand it. Some of them are a little more technical. But the fact that people actually taking that time out to read it, understand it, comment on my post, even sending me a LinkedIn message saying, hey, I really enjoyed it. Thank you for sharing. Uh, all of that's super. I mean, I try to respond to as many of them as I can, but genuinely quite overwhelmed when people take the time out and actually look forward to some of the stuff I put out. But yeah.
Got it. So how do you deal with critics, right? Has there been a case where, people have pointed it out that you've been wrong, and has there been a case where you've changed your opinion?
So I think in terms of the my opinion, that doesn't change. So at least the putting out a piece or putting out an opinion article is a bit, it takes some time, right? I don't just turn it around in a couple of days. Or it can be like a 3 to 4 week process for me to actually finalize on the topic and do all the research, speak to people, get my own thoughts in order. So the opinion or the hypothesis doesn't change. More of the critiques usually are that, hey, this maybe this calculation or the way you've estimated this is wrong, right? Some of the assumptions that you've taken are not correct. Or hey, your understanding of how you've imagined this specific payment flow may be wrong, right? Some of the pieces I've written is, at least in a future, the cross-border payment flows, or in a world of stable coins, this is how the roles of different entities could change, right? So some people have come back to me and said, hey, this won't work because this will happen, or hey, you've got maybe this estimation wrong, or this is incorrect, and things like that. But what I've been at least quite appreciative of is, nobody sort of come out and blown it up on LinkedIn, and how you've got some of these folks who just take a screenshot and repost and say, hey, this is wrong. I think people have been able to see that, hey, my heart's in the right place. I'm making an effort to actually do as much research as I can. And where, there have been cases where somebody's come back to me and said, hey, you've maybe not thought about this correctly, or this flow is wrong. And I've taken that feedback and, made that change and thanked them. And I think that at least for them is probably a good outcome as well, right? Somebody sort of heard their feedback, come back, responded in a polite fashion. I think there are a lot of folks who probably don't take criticism that well. So whenever somebody takes the effort to write in and say, hey, we read through your stuff and I think this is wrong, I think that's a great outcome as well, right? I think it's worse if you don't get any sort of outreach, good or bad, because that means nobody's really taken the effort to read your stuff and form an opinion about it. So even if it's bad, I'm grateful that, I've written about something that's at least prompted them enough to write in and say, hey, I think you were wrong. I'm like, thank you for your feedback. I appreciate it. If there's merit in what you're saying, I'll definitely go back and revise it. So yeah, I think that's the way I look at it. It's important to be positive about the fact that somebody's reaching out to you, even if it's good or
Yeah,
bad.
fair, fair. Now, looking at behind the scenes, right? What actually goes into creating a post? What's the typical tenure like? And then how do you pick the topics? What kind of research that you do? The reason why I'm asking is you have your day job. Now, on top of that, you're doing these things. So I just want to understand the kind of effort that you put in.
Yeah. So honestly, when I started out, it was very tough because I didn't have any real opinion, right? So I had to do a lot of reading and research and writing for the articles to actually come out. Now I'm at a point where I've built up that repository of knowledge and research, right? It's all very properly documented in either Google Sheets or Docs or whatever, so I can keep going and referring to it and adding to it. So takes maybe a little less effort now, but at least end to end, from finalizing on a topic to getting the final post out, which includes the slides, the LinkedIn post, the Substack, takes about 3 weeks. If it's something that I don't really know too much about, it could take even 1 month. uh, there are multiple pieces normally I'm working on at the same time, just in terms of ideas, research, what is a possible, opinion that I could get out of this or a hypothesis that I want to work on. Um, so it normally stems from something that, either something's blown up. Like these days, stable coins, I'm working on something around stable coins because stable coins have really blown up. I'd written something about it 6 months ago. So it's like a follow on, right? But it can also be about something completely new that I don't know anything about, like AI. But I normally try to write about recent trends because that's also something that, people are interested in knowing more about. But yeah, the research, I'll normally, it'll either come up, either on my LinkedIn feed or I'll read something on Twitter. Something will come up, somebody's acquired somebody, or there's some data point where somebody says, hey, stable coins have now done, some trillions in value with it's in comparison to, let's say, a Visa or a MasterCard, things like that. And that'll at least prompt me to dive a little deeper. Just start, almost noting down some stats, saying, hey, this is what's happening, seeing if there's a pattern there. So, for example, when I'd written, let's say I'd written a piece on, full stack, how UPI is becoming more full stack. It's just something that I'd been reading about over the last few weeks. And somewhere I was like, okay, it seems like a lot of companies at least acquiring, doing forward and backward integration. A lot of new acquisitions are suddenly happening in this space. Seems like there's a trend there. Let's dive in. So once I sort of have an idea that, hey, this is a topic I want to write about, it could be UPI or it could be cross border or stablecoins or app privacy or anything like that, then I, approach it in a more structured fashion. Then you do your research, you read your reports. And then in the process of that is when the hypothesis is formed, right? What am I arguing for or what am I arguing against? And then once you have that hypothesis, which maybe takes about a week or about 10 days approximately, if you're spending like a couple of hours every day on it, once you have that, then the article writes itself. Then it becomes like a very, structured way saying, hey, this is what I'm arguing for. So I need to have these data points. I need to know what competitors are doing. I need to have a view on what this will look like in the future, things like that.
Yeah. So how frequently do you post?
So I honestly, ideally, I would love to do once a week where I get a new piece out every week. But it becomes tough, with the workload. And especially since I've recently joined a new role, uh,
Right.
getting that time to at least sit and think through some of these things becomes hard. But the target I at least keep is in a month between 2 to 4. Between getting out 2 to 4 pieces is a great target. The way I think about it is because I have a decent repository of work now. There are a lot of updates happening on the themes that I've already written about. So ideally, I'll do a repost of a previous piece with an update saying that, hey, I'd written about, let's say, fintech valuations. So this is at least the thesis I had, and this is how this has been updated. So that's a quicker turnaround because my thesis and my thoughts are already there, and it's just publishing an update. So on in weeks, during weeks or time periods when I don't have too much of time, that's the way I'd approach something normally. But getting out an original piece, at least 2 times a month is the target I'm chasing right now. We'll see. We'll see if I you stick to it.
No, no, you will. You will. Um, s- so on a daily basis, right? How many hours you usually spend on these posts?
So I don't track it honestly on a daily basis. I track it more from a weekly perspective because it's very
Yeah.
tough to predict the amount of work you get in a day. And if I keep a daily target and I miss it, then I probably don't feel great about myself. But I try to put in maybe 4 to 5 hours a week, and that can either be distributed across the week or sometimes when I've not had any time during the week, then I'll just sit during Saturday and Sunday and really spend some time and deep dive onto a topic or read reports and things like that. What I try to do is at least you know Monday to Friday keep an eye out on how some themes are trending, and I have like a Google sheet or like on the notes app on my phone. I just keep typing down stuff saying, hey, I read this about something, seems like an interesting trend to explore. The toughest thing about writing is actually finding a topic that interests you enough to write about or a theme that you want to continue exploring. And especially as you go deeper into things, a lot of this stuff becomes more and more specific. You can't keep it general anymore. Generally, everything's been written about, and people have an opinion on that. So yeah, once I have a theme, then it becomes easy. Then you just sit down and deep dive into the topic. But yeah, I think 4 to 5 hours a week is probably, I'd estimate it as a good number. More if I have time. But there are other things, one is doing as well. So becomes tough to give more than that.
Yeah. And looking at your research, right? You mentioned that you do a combination of both primary as well as secondary research. How is that structured? You usually exploit the secondary resources out there and then you reach out to people, or how do you do that? And how do you reach out to people, right? Is it like cold calling, or you try to reach out through someone references? How does that happen?
So it starts off with a lot of secondary research. Now, at least in fintech, I'd say that I don't have to do too much of primary research because I understand the space well enough to at least have a view on how some of these things will play out. And at least in fintech, I do have that ecosystem and, have folks around me who I have collabed with in the past. So I treat them as like my experts who I can really deep dive and get that perspective. And that's something that I feel I've done over the last year, where I've actually formed, I have a group of people who I enjoy collabing with and, you know, who understand some of these things maybe better than me or have a different perspective on it. There's a friend Chinmay, who works in AI. He's an AI engineer. So on anything AI or anything to do with privacy, I reach out to him. He's the guy who gives me, a lot of insights on how it's playing out or connects me to people. But uh, a lot of primary research is just, cold reach outs. People are super helpful. I was actually surprised at the amount of responses I got, where you just ping somebody on WhatsApp or you message somebody on LinkedIn and you get a lot of folks who respond and say, hey, yeah, I'd love to talk about this. I'd love, get your views also on it as well. But I usually do that once I have that secondary research done, so that when I speak to them, then it can actually be understanding some of the nuances of this and not just, doing understanding the basics, which can be done very easily now.
Right. So moving on, right? What do you think helped you stand out on LinkedIn? One thing that I can clearly notice is you kind of state your opinion, not just putting out the data points, but then using those data points, you draw out certain insights, and then thereby they'll help you form your opinion and you put that out there. That's one thing, right? Is there anything else that you feel helped you stand out on LinkedIn? That's my first question. The second question is, um, what are some of the do's and don'ts, right, for someone who is just beginning to, you know, creating posts out on LinkedIn? What are some of the do's and don'ts?
No, that's actually a good question. I'm also not sure, to be honest. Uh, I think the biggest thing that's helped me stand out is and keeping opinions, etc., all of that to the side, right? I think at least I started doing it because I genuinely do enjoy the process of writing and thinking about some of this stuff, right? It's quite therapeutic almost for me, where you're sitting on a weekend or sitting after work, you're maybe having some chai and you're just thinking to some of the stuff, you're either writing in your notebook or, jotting down some notes on your laptop. Uh, and because I really enjoy it, I really go into the depths of certain things, right? I just don't do it on the surface and say, okay, this is good enough to post and let's chase the likes and the follows and let's put it out there,
Yeah.
which I feel a lot of people do. As a result, it's also tough to stay committed to it, right? If you do it just for the likes and the follows, at some point, you get a fewer likes or you don't get follows and you get demotivated. Or that motivation has to come because you genuinely enjoy sitting down and, doing some of this stuff. So that's one thing that's I think the biggest thing that's actually helped me stand out. I enjoy it, so I go to the depths of it, and I guess somewhere people can see that I've really tried to, break down the topic to its fundamentals. Uh, the second piece is when I write, at least, right? I see it as a way of I see it as a privilege that people are reading my stuff. So when I write, I try to write in a way that says, hey, anybody who reads even half of this, they're taking time out from doing something else and spending time on this. So they should get that value. It's a privilege that somebody's reading, some of your content and taking the time to engage and writing into you and things like that. So really being cognizant of that somebody's taking their time out, reading it, giving you feedback. Yeah, I think those are the major things. Don't chase follows and likes. Really enjoy the process. Don't go after your likes and follows and becoming a quote unquote influencer, and respect the fact that people are taking time out and reading this. It's not that they could be doing something else. Why are they reading your pieces?